Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. I'm really excited to be bringing you today's video. This has been a long anticipated video for many of you guys because you've been sending me DMs and questions in my videos asking me to do this. So I'm very excited to be bringing today the review of my Chanel Small Diana. So not only am I going to be reviewing this bag today, but I'm also going to be sharing my experience of purchasing this bag online because it is a vintage style that has been discontinued. So I'll go through how I acquired it, the process, and just my experience shopping with my grandfather's things. So without further ado, let's just jump right into this video. Before we jump into this video directly, let's just do a quick recap of the history of the bag. I believe this bag was first introduced in the late 80s, like 88 or 89, and then it was discontinued in like the early to mid 90s, I think around 95, 96. It was made widely popular by Princess Diana because she carried this bag so much and it was one of her favorite ones, which is why it's called the Diana bag. Since then, they have brought it back and reissued it in a couple of different styles, but honestly, I just keep getting drawn back to the original style of like the late 80s, early 90s, and I'm so happy that I have finally acquired and added this to my collection. To date, I think that this is only my fourth Chanel item. The first one was a purse, and then a card case, the Gabrielle backpack, and then this Chanel Small Diana. Because it has been discontinued, this bag is quite, well, it's not exactly hard to get a hold of, but there are limited quantities out there. If you're comfortable with the reissue version, I think they reissued it in like 2005. You can definitely find those floating online quite easily, but if you're looking for this specific style, then you're gonna have to do a little bit of digging. They sell like hotcakes on sites such as like The RealReal, Rebag, Fashion File, that sort of things. If you can never get your hand on one, I would highly recommend that you do it like this, or else it's going to disappear. Most bags that I have seen on those sites sit for anywhere about like 1 to 2 weeks max before someone else purchases it. So if you're not speedy, your bag probably will get purchased without you realizing it. So this is probably not a bag I would go into looking for and finding online to see availabilities until you're ready to commit, because if you fall in love with the bag and you don't get it right away when you're not ready, chances are you won't be able to get it down the road when you are ready because it's probably been purchased. So I've been dreaming of this bag for the past 2 to 3 years now, and as you guys know on here, it is one of my dream bags. Besides the Dior book tote, which I would love to acquire in the 12-inch reprint one day, I have been lusting after this bag for so long. So this bag comes in a couple of different finishes. You can get the patent, lambskin, or caviar. As you guys can see, I have the lambskin, and I think this is one of my few only lambskin bags, and I'm actually astounded that I allowed myself to get a lambskin bag because they're so easily damaged, scuffed, scratched, and I don't ever think that I envisioned myself getting a lambskin bag, but because this is a discontinued style and it's so hard to get a hold of, they're relatively pricey. So I'll be transparent. I paid around, after conversion, around $5,000 for this in Canadian. I've seen these bags go for like $2,500, which is not atrociously expensive, all the way up to like $8,000 depending on where you're purchasing it from. And it all comes down to the quality of this bag and how well it was maintained over the course of the past 20 some years since it's been in somebody else's possession. I was waiting out for a really high quality, well-maintained bag, and when I mean high quality, I mean not a lot of creasing in the tops here. A lot of these bags have sunken in because the lambskin is so smooth and delicate that if you're not taking care to shape this bag, it will lose its structure over time. So mine doesn't have creases here. I'll open this up really quickly for you to show here as well too. Many bags have deep creasing at the bottom here where these pits are. As you can see, mine has a little bit of it, but not too much. And then on the sides, it hasn't fallen in. There's still some structure to here, and there is some structure to the base. It has like very slight indentations, but nothing too crazy. And the back has no crazy creasing in the leather from repetitive use. So I was holding out for a really well-structured bag, and the reason I did that was because since these are vintage, you're never going to get one fully brand new unless you magically land on one that somebody has kept in their closet in like the box and glass case over the past 20-30 years and hasn't touched it since. You can find pretty damaged ones to really well-maintained ones if you're searching for them online. Now, the damaged ones can go from anywhere from $2,000 to $3,000, and I've seen some like pretty bad ones online still selling for like $1,500. Personally, for myself, I wanted it as new as possible to feel as if I was getting a brand new bag. I know it's vintage and it's secondhand. It's definitely not going to be a brand new bag, but I can't put it past myself to pay for a slightly damaged bag just to not like the look of it. Like, even though I like vintage, I like the worn-in look, I don't like it to look damaged and ruined, which is why I saved up and I decided to splurge on a bag that was a little bit better maintained. So that being said, I paid $5,000 for this one. You can definitely get them for cheaper and for more expensive. I think for this bag, the price was pretty average, considering the fact that most small to medium bags at Chanel are anywhere from like $6,000 to $8,000 now. It seems pretty optimal price point wise when you're looking at this bag. Secondhand, you may sometimes see some bags sell for cheaper, but because this is a discontinued style, there's not like endless quantities of this bag online. People do sell them for a pretty penny, so that's something I would definitely keep in mind. Make sure you have the coins saved up for this bag. I really wanted the caviar one. Unfortunately, the caviar ranges anywhere from like $6,000 to $10,000 depending on the color and how well that one has been maintained. So it might be on my list in the future to acquire caviar in the medium size. I was thinking a beige medium caviar, purely because A, you guys know how I run when it comes to beige bags. I somehow damage or dirty them, and because it's caviar, it's not going to get wrecked as easily, so I don't have to feel too conscious about where I take the bag to. I can just like casually wear it without worrying that it's going to get overly damaged quickly because of how durable caviar leather is. And then second of all, because these bags are vintage ones, they are relatively old. Caviar is going to hold its shape up for longer, so finding a lambskin beige bag probably would be hard to find it in perfect condition and not kind of damaged or losing its structural integrity. And to find a really well structurally sound one would probably cost a lot more than I anticipate, which is why I would gravitate towards caviar version when it comes to a larger size and for the color overall. Technically, I think caviar in my head just like wins in any size or any shape just because it's such a durable leather to have. Something to keep in mind is that they actually did make a very limited run of caviar bags for this specific style. So you're gonna get really, really expensively and high priced bags. That's something to keep in mind if you're looking for a caviar version. They're definitely still very readily available found online, but the price tag is significantly higher compared to this one because of that. We're gonna jump over to my experience for shopping to this bag now. I think I spent the past 6 to 12 months looking online for this bag. I discovered this bag in this specific style 2 to 3 years ago, and I've been dreaming of it ever since. When I found out how much it cost, I was like, I can't really do it. And then I started to think about how much I've been spending on bags anyways, and you know what? It's not that much far off from like my Celine or my Dior saddle, that sort of thing. So I told myself, you know what? It's actually probably more sensical for me to purchase a bag that I've been dreaming of, and it is a classic and it is a vintage, rather than constantly purchasing new trendy it bag, because over time this has already proven to be a well-worn and appreciated style. So I knew that it's not going to fade out with trends as most trends go. So I decided to save up for this bag and to make the plunge when I was ready. I have been keeping tabs with online sites such as Fashionphile, The RealReal, Rebag. I will list a couple of them down below of my favorite ones to look at when I'm looking for vintage or secondhand or thrifted items on the designer market. I ended up going with my grandfather's things. She is actually an Instagram account based out of Hong Kong, and she specializes specifically in Diana. She's a Diana enthusiast. Believe it or not, there are people who specialize in specific types of bags, and you know what? I don't blame her. Diana's are absolutely beautiful, and I just like trusted her because she knew everything about Diana's. She has a blog which runs through the pros and cons of different sizes and shapes and textures of Diana's, why Diana is such an iconic style for Chanel, and she just knows all the nitty-gritty when it comes down to sourcing Diana's. And she's not going to source just any old Diana. She sources them all at like premium quality. She makes sure that the puffs are still intact, the leather is nice and clean, and plus she spas all the bags before she sends them out. So I was like, you know what, I trust this girl. She knows her thing. She's not just any random reseller. She specializes specifically in Diana, so I'm probably gonna go with her. I found her about probably 6 months to a year ago, and I've been following her ever since. We have been kind of messaging here and there on Instagram. Every time she posted a bag online, I would be like, oh, I wish I could get it. I'm just not in the mental headspace to be purchasing a bag right now. And we know how tough this past year was, so I was trying to be very good with my money. This past half of the year was pretty decent, so I wanted to splurge and celebrate. And also, since I reached 100K on Instagram, I wanted to celebrate that moment by getting myself my dream bag, which is what I did. So we've been talking for a while, and you know what? I ended up actually being really, really lucky because how she operates is through auction style. Typically, what she'll do is she'll video the bag and post it in different angles, showing the inside, the quality of the puffs. And when I mean puffs, I mean these little square quiltings on the top here. If the metal on the bag has any tarnishing or scratches, how the inside is, if there are creases in the leather, that the whole gamut, and you can essentially see what the bag looks like before you place a bid. And then at the 12-hour mark, because she puts her bids up for about 24 hours, halfway through the auctioning, she'll give you guys an update as to who the highest bidder is yet, and then you'll get a second chance to submit a second bid in. So a month or two ago, I started comfortably looking at her bags, feeling like maybe I should place in a bid and see where I can get. I think I bid on at least 1 or 2 bags that didn't end up working out because somebody bid higher than me. And each time it was only like $5 or $15 higher. And I was like, ah, I lost out. But you know what? She was constantly doing them, so I was okay with that. I was just telling myself, you know what? Just wait till the next one. Maybe these ones weren't meant to be, and then it'll work out. Unfortunately for her, but fortunately for me, some people seem to really take advantage and abuse the system, and people would win the bids. They would back out last minute once they found out they bid, and would just completely waste their time. So what she did was, I guess, a private sale where she would list a specific bag to some close friends, like the close friends list on Instagram, people that she knows have been dreaming and dying to get a bag and have been constantly auctioning and placing in their bids but haven't been successful, and release it onto there and let them know if they were interested, to let her know, and she would give them a fixed price, and that would be it. Like I said, it was unfortunate for her because she had to switch to this style temporarily since the auction method wasn't working and people were abusing it. It was fortunate for me because she reached out to me and let me know how much the bag was being placed for, and I accepted the price, which I believe was around 3,900 USD, converts out to about 5,000 Canadian, and the bag was mine. The transfer process was actually really easy. She offers a couple of different payment methods. I believe Zelle, TransferWise, PayPal, and because she's in Hong Kong, I wasn't able to do an Interact e-transfer since she doesn't have a Canadian bank account. I think Interact e-transfers are only available for Canadian to Canadian accounts, or if you have an American account that accepts Canadian dollars, that's whole shebang. But because she was international, it was a little bit trickier. So she walked me through how to use TransferWise, and I highly recommend it to anybody who does need to transfer money online. It is so quick, easy, and efficient, and the fees are extremely low compared to bank wire transfers or just any other sort of bank method transfer or even PayPal. So that's what we did. Transferred it over to her. It took about 2 to 3 days for the whole process to get completed. I was totally okay with that because you know what? I was like, you know, I trust this company. She's used it for like quite a while and it's fairly well reputed online. So we used TransferWise. Once she received the bag, she actually really kindly let me know that she had another one that just came in and if I wanted to take a look at the two of them to decide which one I would prefer. So this one is actually named Daisy, and the original bag I purchased from her was named Pamela. So Pamela actually came with the authentication card, the bag, which is like the dust bag that comes with this, and also the box. This is Daisy, exact same bag, but Daisy doesn't come with any of those things. It was just a bag. The reason I went with Daisy over Pamela was because it's really nice to have an authentication card and also like the bag and the box if you are ever planning on reselling your bag. Having all of those items, and she calls them collectibles, which are extra add-ons on top of the actual bag itself, really helps to increase the value of your bag and to validate the authenticity of the bag. For myself, since I had zero intentions of ever reselling this bag, like when I say zero, I mean never. I'm never gonna sell this bag. Probably out of all the ones that I own, this is my absolute favorite now, besides the Celine box bag, but this is one of my absolute favorites. So I decided I didn't need any of those, and when I compared the two of them, Daisy was a little bit more structurally sound than Pamela was. Pamela had a little bit more of an indentation along the bottom here. The front was nice. The puffs weren't as, I think, puffy. I think this one had better quilting that was a little bit more full. So it looked a little bit more brand new, and I told myself at the end of the day, the reason I was paying this much was to have a very well-structured bag. I don't intend to resell it, so I don't need all those extra parts that come into play when you purchase a brand new bag that most people want, which is the authentication card, dust bag, and box. So I decided to go with the Daisy, and that is the one that I got. So after the whole shipping process went through, it took about like, I think 7 to 10 days for me to receive the bag. Because it is being shipped internationally, I did have to pay duties for this, and that's ultimately going to depend on how much duties cost in your country. For Canada, it ranges anywhere from 20 to 30% of the actual product value itself, so you guys can do the math as to how much duties was for this, but you need to take care of that for yourself. She's not going to take care of that for you. She just provides the service of sourcing and selling you the bag. It was unfortunate because I was actually out of town on the day this bag actually came in, and it took me a couple of days to be able to actually acquire the bag once it was finally here, and it hurt me so much inside because I was so excited to get this bag and to finally start using it. So I went online and I quickly paid off the duties in order for this bag to be released and to be shipped to me, and oh my god, I was so happy when I opened this. She packaged it so well. So I'm going to show you a couple things that she put inside of the bag. First off, this is Daisy right here. If I didn't give you guys a quick rundown, she is a black lambskin small Diana. You can tell it's a small when you look at the 4 quilts in the front here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 diamonds. I believe if you go to a medium, it's 4 diamonds, and then you have like a half one more here and one more there, and that's the medium size. So packed together with this bag, and she also sells all of these items as well for you to purchase. The dust bag, since this bag doesn't come with one, she included one with mine so it could travel nice and snug without getting any sort of damages. And I believe this is custom made out of silk. She custom makes all of these, and she does sell them on her site as well. So if you really want one, I'm going to include all of her details below for my grandfather's things in the description bar, and you guys can shoot her either a DM or check her website to find out how to acquire these for yourself. So this is the custom dust bag that fits this bag specifically. I'm gonna repack everything together and show you what it looks like afterwards. She also sells these little puffies right here, which is a bag shaper, especially when it comes to a vintage or antique bag like this. You definitely want to make sure you're shaping it so it keeps it nice and puffy and it doesn't lose its shape. When I was saying that a lot of bags lose their shape at the bottom here, it's because they've been stored empty for the longest time and the bag just starts to sag and collapse on itself. So whenever I'm not using this bag, I do stuff it with this to keep its shape. I believe, I may be wrong, I can't remember, please correct me if I'm wrong. She calls these her birdies. She names all of her items. It's actually really cute. I love it. And it has a little ribbon at the top here that says my grandfather's things, and these were all custom designed. She's gone through so many prototypes to create the perfect shaped ones that just slide smoothly in and out of your bag without causing it to pucker or to make it too tight of a fit that makes your bag seams explode. And this one fits the small Diana perfectly. And she also included this little suede felt cover for the front flap of the bag. I'll show you what it looks like really quickly. A lot of times people use these so that the metal hardware up here and here don't hit each other. And what you can do is you just take it, you place it in between the two flaps, the front of the bag and the top flap, just like that. And then you close the bag down on top, and now it protects the leather on both sides and the metal as well. It's a really cool one because you can actually engrave your name on here if you purchased it from her. I think she was offering specialty embroidery for the holiday season, but she's not doing it anytime soon. Again, I don't think. You can contact her and ask her if this is something that she can offer you if you're interested in that. But I really like it because it helps protect my bag on a whole extra level that I never really envisioned I needed to, and I am so impressed. So all these are sold in her account. You can hit her up to find out how much they cost. As always, I'll include her details down below. So those are all the things that she included with my bag. It was also bubble wrapped after that and then placed into a box to further prevent any damage from transit at all. You guys know when it comes to shipping items, sometimes you get your items fully damaged once they arrive. The boxes, I've received so many packages with the boxes like half ripped open. I'm like, what? Like, why? I was really glad that this bag came with 0 damages, and it was so quick. It was in like 7 to 10 business days from Hong Kong, which is like halfway around the world. So I was very impressed with that. So that was essentially my whole experience. She was really helpful anytime I had any questions. I asked for additional photos of the bag, such as the serial code, the insides of the bags, the corners of the bags, and she was beyond accommodating, really kind, shared with me all the photos I had requested for, and answered all of my questions that I had for her. And I like literally peppered her with questions to the point where I felt so bad for this girl. I was like, if this was me, I would be able to put up with this. But she was kind, and I actually really appreciated the customer service that she provided. And if you are also looking for a Diana, highly recommend that you reach out to her to see if she can ever source one for you, or follow her on Instagram so that you can find out when she's auctioning new bags off and you can partake in that style. But I think that's essentially it from my experience from shopping for my vintage Diana bag through my grandfather's things. I had a lovely time. I definitely would go back to her in the future to source my next bag and any sort of other vintage Chanel bags that I have an eye for, because I love these bags. The vintage ones, they're absolutely stunning, so well made, and I'm gonna go into it a little bit more when I run through my proper review of this bag. So that's essentially it. If you guys, like I said, are interested in purchasing a Diana, make sure you're following my grandfather's things on Instagram so that you can stay up to date for any bags that she lists, and to join, I guess, her group of followers who are trying to acquire a Diana from a Diana enthusiast. But other than that, I essentially have, I think, mentioned everything that I have about my experience vintage shopping online and through that specific Instagram account. If you guys have any other questions whatsoever at all, please feel free to drop them down below in the comments, and I will try my best to answer them as detailed possible as I can. I think I've covered everything though, but if there's anything that I missed, let me know. I'd be more than happy to answer it. I am an open book, as you guys know. I have zero qualms with answering questions. Oh yeah, you do have to pay for shipping. I believe it's around 35 USD, so you have to cover that. But I mean, if you're already paying $5,000 for a bag, that's like a fraction of the cost. So just letting you guys know so you know what to expect that. But otherwise, that's it for my review of my shopping experience. Let's just jump right into the bag review itself. So if you made it this far, then you'll know that this is my vintage small Diana. She is a beauty, and I am so proud of her. I could not be happier with this bag, and it It fills this little void in my bag collection that I had for a long time. If you guys already watched my complete 2020 designer handbag collection, then you'll have probably already seen this bag. If you haven't, there's a card up here somewhere for you guys to click so you can review that and watch all of my bags that I currently own. It may change from year to year as I sell and acquire new bags, but yeah, it's there. So we're first going to talk about the construction of this bag, which I already touched lightly on when I was talking about the history of this bag. So this bag is a vintage, like I said, and I did get this in a lambskin, so it's very fragile leather that can scratch easily, can get damaged easily, and can get nicked easily. Lambskin leather is not usually the type of leather that I gravitate to when it comes to buying bags. And transparently, it's just because I know it can get damaged really easily, so I don't want to put myself in the position of potentially damaging the bag and then hating myself for it afterwards. However, because of the cost difference between lambskin and caviar, I felt that it would make most sense for me to purchase a lambskin in black, and also because it is black, it's going to hide most of the flaws that come with the bag itself. I apologize for the constant changing lighting. It is a very cloudy, gloomy day outside, and the clouds come and go, and the sun just keeps coming back, so it goes from light to dark, and I really apologize. I wish I could hold this lighting forever, but we'll see. It's probably gonna get cloudy again within like 10 minutes. Oh, great. The sun is already setting and it's only 2:45. I bumped down the brightness on my camera a little bit. If you guys can see, I view on my phone here, and just to adjust it so it's not too in your face as I'm doing the review for this bag. But yeah, hopefully you guys can sit with me through this as the sun slowly gets covered again by clouds. I see some more cloud patches coming, so fingers crossed. Oh my god, I just looked into the sun and I'm like blinded. Let's jump back into this bag. So I did get it in a lambskin, and because it is a super soft vintage leather, could lose its shape over time if you're not taking care of it well, which is why I fully intend on using this bag shaper on days when I'm not using the bag so that it can keep its shape fairly well and not lose its structure. So this bag overall has a couple scratches here and there. The base of it does have a little bit of like a bend in the fold, and that's just through use from the previous owner, but I don't have the biggest issue with that because I don't really ever see it. There are a couple nicks on the leather here and there, but honestly it just looks like my couch. When I first got it, it was brand new, and then after we used it for a couple of months, it just started accumulating some nicks and scratches here and there, and you know what? It is what it is. So moving on to that, overall, the construction of this bag is really well done. Whoever had this bag last took really good care of it, and overall, it has like a really, really good base. It's not overly damaged. It's like holding up pretty well. There's zero creasing on the front flap here, and when I open it up inside to show you guys what it looks like, there's some very minor denting at the bottom here where it could have lost its shape, but it didn't really, and there's some very minor creasing on the inside of the flap where when you constantly move the leather, it just bends. It's natural. There is almost zero to no wear on the back either. You just have some slight creasing here from when you open up the flap and the leather bends, similar to how it looks like on the inside, but there is not a lot of structural damage to the bottom here, which I'm really, really happy about. Let's chat a little bit about the hardware on this bag. If you guys didn't know, older Chanel bags actually used to be dipped in, I believe, 18 karat gold. They no longer are now. I believe they're just like plated in a gold colored finish. If you look and you compare the hardware on vintage bags compared to new ones, these ones are gonna have a slightly yellower tone because this is gold plating on the top of it. New ones have a more champagne gold finish, which I don't personally have an issue with. I just like knowing the fact that these were 18 karat gold plated bags. So it has definitely a more vintage and kind of like romantic look to it because it's such a warm gold compared to all of the new ones, and I absolutely love it for that. So this chain here is a full metal chain all the way around with leather woven through it, similar to a lot of other Chanel chains. This is very typical for Chanel. The reissue of this bag that was released in 2005, I believe, actually has a little leather strap at the top here, so you can rest it on your shoulder without it causing you pain. I don't really find that this bag gives me a lot of pain when I wear it. Since it's so small, I can't fit that much in it anyway, so I have no issue with that. So this bag, what you see in the front is what you get. Same with the back. There is no extra pocket on the back here. I know a lot of the other Chanel classic bags have a little flap back here, but this one does not have it. I don't know why, it just was not part of the design. We'll open up the bag and I'll show you what it looks like on the inside as well. So the CC interlocking here, you just twist it like any other old Chanel bag and then you open it right up. There is no additional flap. It's not a double flap. This is an old bag, so it was designed like this. And on the inside is mostly a giant hole with a little zip compartment in the back here. As you guys can see, my bag is quite stuffed right now, and the reason it is stuffed is because I wanted to show you later on how much I can actually fit in the bag, so that way you can envision how much this bag actually can hold if you're considering this bag. But overall, I really gravitated towards this bag style because it's a very simply constructed rectangle with a very easy to access flap that you guys know I'm a huge fan of, and it has such a classic and beautiful silhouette that has definitely stood the test of time, which is why I just gravitated towards it. We've discussed about the construction. We're going to move on with the color of the bag. So this bag is actually a black. However, if you look very very close to it, it's actually a very, very, very dark chocolate brown. It's almost not discernible to the naked eye when you put two bags side by side. And the Pamela bag that I was first offered, that I purchased, actually was a little bit darker than this one. But I ended up going up with this one because you can't really tell, to be honest, and I just preferred this bag because of the overall construction versus the cool black color. When I was in LA earlier this year, I actually had tried on this bag in a chocolate brown and in a black. And honestly, side by side, you can't see the difference at all unless you're like looking this close to the bag and comparing it. But from afar, it still looks like a black bag. And I also think that the gold hardware on here, the 18 karat plated gold, actually pulls a lot of warmth out of the bag, so it suits it really nicely, and I am a fan of this. We've talked about the construction and the color of the bag. We're gonna talk a little bit about the price. Like I said, I bought this bag for 5,000 Canadian, plus or minus like 100 here and there after conversions. I did say that this bag comes anywhere from between $2,500 up to like $7,000, and it honestly just comes down to how the bag was maintained. If it's gonna be perfect with zero like blemishes anywhere, the puffs are really high, somebody stored this in their closet and never once touched it, then you might be paying $6,000, $7,000 for a premium. There are many bags that I've seen online that have like heavy creasing on the fronts, at the bottoms, and the backs. All the metal has completely tarnished off, and those bags are going for a cool like $2,000. You really are paying for what you get when it comes to these bags, especially because they are vintage collector's pieces. Chanel's not going to be producing more, so you don't really have the option of saying like, okay, well, I'm going to get a brand new one, because that doesn't really exist unless someone just literally left it in a bag and it's just been like a dead stock Chanel bag this entire time. So I think for $5,000, this bag is really well maintained. The structure is pretty sound. It's clean. None of the leather has been tarnished. They did spa the bag twice before I received it, and that means just conditioning the leather, cleaning it out, so it's all nice and perfect in my hands once I receive it. But besides that, there are no other like structural damages done to this bag. The metal work on the front here was like immaculate when I got it. There was zero scratches. I think I may have actually put on a couple scratches since I started using it. Sorry. But this bag is actually perfection, and for $5,000, I think this is well worth its price tag. So definitely shop around to see what you can find, and then determine what type of conditioning you're comfortable with settling with. If you want to spend a little bit less and you're okay with having some creases on your bag, then go for it. If you definitely want a perfect bag, just keep in mind it is going to run you the gamut of like $5,000 to $7,000, and that also does not include duties, taxes, and shipping fees on the bag after you purchase it as well. Moving on to the size of the bag, this is actually the perfect size for my body shape. I've tried on both the small and the medium bag, and although I love both sizes, I think small for me suits my frame the best for an everyday casual bag. When I wore the medium, the drop was just, it's the same as this one, and the bag itself is a little bit wider. I just didn't like the way the medium looked because it's still positioned in roughly the same place for the grommets and the leather strap, but the bag comes out a little bit wider here and just had like a really weird unbalanced shape to me, so I wasn't the biggest fan of that one, which is why I gravitated towards the small. Like I said, I would love to acquire medium one day down the road, and that would be more as like a collector's piece for me more than anything, but I don't truly love the medium. I think I like the small a lot more. I'm about 5'5", 5'6" on a good day if you guys want to compare frame wise as to like how tall I am with how this bag sits, and it sits perfectly on my hips, and I love it. In regards to size, let's chat a little bit about the inside compartment and what it can hold. So like I said, no compartments on the back here. When you open it up, it's just a single flap, so you don't have that extra flap of leather taking up more space, and the inside is just a giant hole. I'm going to show you what I currently have in here, and then we're going to chat a little bit about the interior. So I'm going to take things out one by one. I have a single lipstick. I have not adjusted anything from this bag since I picked it up for this video, just FYI. Some receipts. I have a lot of receipts. I tend to collect them. More receipts. I have a Body Shop hand cream. I have a compact mirror for when I need to adjust my makeup or apply more lip balm. I have 2 pads because feminine products, and I have a uterus, so gotta have them at all times to make sure that you're not leaking everywhere. And then I have my Chanel card case. I don't know why it's outside of the card case holder right now. I usually keep it in here, and it's stuffed full of receipts. So this is a card case, and this is a card case holder. I usually store it like this and keep the receipts inside of it. These are like ongoing receipts for things I need for returns, gift cards, that sort of thing. So this is quite thick here, as you guys can see. And then going straight back into this bag, I also have my lip balm, the Bite one. Why do I have 2 lip products? I always have this, like a lip balm and a lip color in here. And then some more receipts, and then my Presto Pass. So that's it. Let's just take these out so it's completely out of the way, and then I can show you the interior of the bag. I have yet to remove the label tag that came with the bag. It just has her logo on here, and it says Daisy, so I can never forget the name of this bag. Super, super cute. And then this is the inside of the bag right here, as you guys can probably see. It is just a giant empty burgundy hole. So the interior is lined with a burgundy leather, and I made a mistake. There is a side pouch right here. I don't know if you guys can really see that. It's just like a pocket that you slip in, and then there is a zipper here for a secondary compartment that you just like pull down. You can place things inside. I have nothing in this secondary compartment in here right now. So besides the main hole, you have a pocket and then a zip pocket. So I never use a zip pocket, and that little flat pocket in there I just use to keep old receipts. So that's essentially it. So as you can see, I have quite a bit inside of this bag. Does my phone fit? Yes, it does. It fits perfectly in there with ample space for you to add other things. If I was to go out and to put my phone in here, it definitely would fit, but I usually just have these basics in here along with like maybe a scrunchie and like a couple of other things here and there. I don't stuff this bag though, just because this bag is a vintage bag and it's fairly fragile. I don't want to ruin it, which is why I never overstuff it. Compared to my Gucci Soho Disco, which I severely stuff because that's my everywhere go around workhorse bag, this is a great everyday casual bag, but you still do need to take quite good care of it. So now what I'm going to do is when it's empty, when I'm done using it or in between two bags, I like to take the little fluffy pillow. These are her fluffies, and I fluff her right into here. As you can see, it's a perfect slide in, and it fills it completely without overbursting the seams or making it really hard to pull in and out. I also do like that she has these ribbons on top, so it makes it easy for you to grab it in and out when you're sliding it in from your bag. You don't have to like tear at it from the sides and potentially damage any of the leather. And then the next thing that I do before I store this bag is I take the felt little cover here, I put it in the front. Oops, I should not be doing this vertically. It's really hard for me to show you guys. So it sits right on top of the little lock right here, and then I close the bag and lock the front together just like that. That is essentially it for this bag. It has now been perfectly restuffed with its bag shaper, and it will stay in place as I store it in my closet or on my shelves. The last step that I take is I actually use a little silk dust bag that she provides, and I put my bag inside of it because this one doesn't come with a dust bag. So I just leave it in there, and I actually like to leave the chain out because I don't want the chain to leave impressions on the back of the bag. If I was to leave it inside of here, it's gonna be pressed up against it, and because the lambskin is so soft, over time as you leave it like that, it's gonna leave indentations in the leather. So I just pull it together like this, and then the chain stays out, and I put it upright in storage like that sometimes when I'm not using it. It's actually best recommended that you leave your bag outside of this dust bag when you're storing it so that it can air and the leather doesn't get too like weird over time. It's also best recommended to leave this bag standing upright as well too whenever you can when you're storing it. If you leave it down in the back where it's flat here, you're gonna flatten all the puffs, and that's actually gonna decrease the value of your bag. Same with when you're putting it front wise. Not only are you gonna scratch the metal hardware in here, but you're also going to flatten out the detailing at the puffs here as well. I like to stand this upright on the shelf without the dust bag so it can be adored by me and anybody who passes by that sees it. So that is essentially it for the bag. I don't think I've missed out on anything else. I've talked about the construction of it, my experience purchasing it, the price, the color, what you can actually wear inside, and how I store it. So I think I gave a very decent and in-depth run through of this bag. Let me know if you guys have any further questions about this in general, or if there's anything I didn't bring up that you think I should have covered. I apologize preemptively. I feel like it went in pretty good depth for this bag. So thank you for everybody who stayed tuned to watch this entire video. I know it was quite a long one, but there was a lot that I wanted to cover in regards to this bag and my shopping experience. If you guys were contemplating shopping with my grandfather's things, or you were also searching for a Diana bag and you wanted somebody's review and experience with it, I hope that this video provided you with enough insight and details as to like my experience with the bag that you feel well equipped to go out and make the decision on your own now. One thing I did want to note that although it is an everyday bag for me at the moment, I treat it way more delicately than I treat my Celine and my Gucci bag. My Gucci Soho definitely is the workhorse that I throw around everywhere. I've walked in it with rain and snow and ice, and like it stood the test of time. The Celine bag, I'm pretty selective with that one as well too. I don't bring it outside when it's wet, or I stick it underneath my jacket, and I'm very careful what I rub up against because I don't want to mar that leather. Same thing goes for this bag. I'm very, very, very cognizant when I'm wearing this bag as to like what I'm brushing up against so it doesn't scratch the leather. And if it's raining outside, I usually put this bag underneath my jacket so that the rain doesn't damage the leather. That's just the last thing I want to note. It is a very, very easy bag to use. It's so functional and has so much space in it, but you still need to take care of it because of the construction and of the leather of the bag. But yeah, I hope you guys found this video helpful. I know that it's probably a little bit strange for me to be sharing this as a Vlogmas video, but I wanted to get this up and out there for you guys, for anybody who has had any questions. There have been so many of them, and hopefully I've addressed them all. Thank you for following along with my journey of acquiring this bag. If you guys have any other questions and you don't feel comfortable asking me on YouTube, feel free to shoot me a DM on Instagram. My handle is right here, and make sure to follow me on there as well to get more content from me. If you guys are not sick of watching me already on YouTube, you can also follow me on TikTok to watch other funny content as well. But I hope you guys have an amazing day and have a safe and happy holidays, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!